All right, so we've got Ezekiel Elliott versus Saquon Barkley. All right, I'm throwing 90 seconds on the clock, Justin. Go.
Hey everyone, I am Justin, and that is Kyle, and we are the Fantasy Football Upiside. On behalf of Kyle and I, we just want to thank you for dropping by our little Fantasy Football podcast. And today we have a new segment for you, a new series. It's our Pick or Pass Fantasy Draft Series. So we're pitting players with similar draft prices against one another to find out who we like and who we think you should pick. So we're going to start things off with running backs. Kyle, what you got?
All right, so last week we brought you our Midsummer Mock Week. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Make sure you check that out. It is below as well as up above
there.
Over there.
I'll let you point.
Like Justin said, we're starting off with our Pick or Pass Fantasy Draft Series. Today and tomorrow we're covering running backs, and then we will handle 2 days of wide receivers, 1 day of a couple QBs and a couple tight ends. Just like your draft day, we are going to have 90 seconds on the clock. That's it. That's all we're going to get each. And we're going to pose a question. All right, here we go. Let's dive right in, head first into the shallow end, guys. All right.
90
number
seconds
one.
for us. This is going to be interesting because we haven't done a stopwatch or anything like that. So this is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna see what happens here. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So number one, right off the top, we've got Sanders versus Ekeler. Which one are you taking here?
Okay. Between the two of them, it's very close. You know, whenever you look at all the different kind of ADPs out there, Fantrax, Fantasy Football Calculator, My Fantasy League, they're all kind of in between that 11 through 14 range. So it's very close. We're splitting hairs just a little bit here. But, hey, this is why we talk about pick or pass, and I forgot to start my stopwatch already. So
you're at 20 seconds here.
Oh, so we're good. Give me a little
I'll give you a little,
yeah,
I'll start counting down for you.
But for me, I actually have Sanders just rated one spot ahead of Ekeler, and I feel like there's just a little less uncertainty when it comes to Miles Sanders compared to Austin Ekeler. Miles Sanders is the number one running back in this, with his team. Boston Scott is there, but Miles Sanders is the number one option. He really came on in the second half of the season. Austin Ekeler, he was great last year. I just don't know what that offense is going to look like this year. The QB play, you just don't know. You have Tyrod Taylor, Justin Herbert, and I just don't know if they want to give him the carries that he would really need to take over to be like a number one running back that you want to put in there. Now, when it comes to PPR, non-PPR, it's basically a wash again. I still pick Miles Sanders. They both have better value in PPR than they do non.
About 15 seconds here.
So, I mean, that's pretty much all I got.
So Sanders across the board is what you're saying.
Sanders across the board. It's just I like his outlook a little bit more.
All right then. Yeah. So, all right,
we'll throw
another 90 seconds on the clock here and give me a go. All right. I would have to say that I like Sanders across the board as well. My problem with Ekeler this year is that the majority of his work came by virtue of having Phillip Rivers, the check down king, right? And we're going to talk a little bit later probably about him a tad bit. But, Sanders has consistency lined up right now with what he's dealing with. He's got a great offensive line. And he's also got nobody in front of him anymore. Last year, he had Jordan Howard to start the year. You're going to go to a full year of Sanders. And Sanders did pretty well last year with only half year. Boston Scott is really his only competition for carries. And I do see Boston Scott stealing a good amount. But I would not say that he's going to take enough to make this a running back by committee. I think that this is still Sanders kind of the new bell cow that you see in the NFL, really, like where it's 60% of the carries, maybe a little bit more than that, or touches in general. He gets a lot of work in PPR situations, so I think that Sanders is going to be a great opportunity this year. I do like Ekeler. I'm not going to say I don't like Ekeler. I don't think that his situation is as good as Sanders is. And I don't think it's as good as it was last year. He's still a phenomenal talent. There's a few guys in the league that fit in that prototype of the same kind of thing. And it's Ekeler, Kamara, Aaron Jones. They're all roughly the same. All right. I'm off the clock here. We're going to move on to the next one here, but before we get into number 2, why don't you guys go ahead and leave a comment down there in the discussion area, and we'll talk to you about what you think about those 2 guys. Who would you pick down there? If you had 90 seconds on the clock and those were your 2 opportunities, which one are you taking?
All right.
So
for the next
number
one,
2,
we got, I'll say it for you so you can start it off with us.
Sure.
Cam Akers versus Mark Ingram. Kyle, 90 seconds on the clock. Go.
All right. So right now, these guys, they're a little bit all over the board. There's a couple spots where they're being drafted in the low 30s, another couple spots they're going low 20s, right? And they are roughly in the same area with one another. I personally like Ingram for redraft, and I'm not really considering whether or not I think that both of them have about the same value in PPR, half PPR situations. But as far as like a redraft situation, I'm looking at Ingram. I think that you're going to have a consistent, solid start to the year. I don't know that you're going to get much out of him in the second half. Now, on the other hand, Akers, my concern with him is that you're not going to get a whole lot of him out of the start. I think that there is some competition in that backfield that people just aren't willing to discuss right now or aren't acknowledging. And so I think that he will ultimately end up with that job. He was drafted to ultimately get that job. But and I think he's at this point the much more dynamic back. The issue for me is that he's just not going to get the workload this year that I would like for him to get. So if I'm doing redraft, I'm drafting Ingram. If I'm doing dynasty, obviously Ingram's not a question or consideration there. And I do like Akers in that situation in dynasty. But I guess if I'm drafting, I'm taking Ingram. That's where I'm at. All right, Justin, 90 seconds on the clock. You ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Akers or Ingram for you?
So this is like the perfect little upside versus limited upside when it comes to these 2 players. Mark Ingram, you kind of know what you're going to get. He's always been underdrafted. It's always one of those, he's the less sexy pick when it comes to every year. Oh, Mark Ingram, you can get him in the 5th or 6th round. You know what I mean? And guess what? He's going to outperform that ADP. It's how much longer is he going to do that? That's always the question mark. They brought in J.K. Dobbins as a 2nd-round pick he was drafted this last draft. And, I mean, they still have Gus Edwards. And they still have
Justice
Hill. So that's a pretty talented running back group.
Yeah.
But Mark Ingram still gets the goal line work.
Well, they also have, that one guy. What's his name? Lamar Jackson, something like that. I don't know. Lemmer.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's pronounced. They have that guy. He gets a good amount of carries too.
Absolutely. But for Cam Akers, it's just, you just don't really know about that backfield. Darrell Henderson, Malcolm Brown. You know what? There's a reason why. I mean, they let Todd Gurley go, of course, but there's a reason why they drafted Cam Akers. He was the first pick that they had. He was a 2nd-round pick, but it's the first one they had. That gives you an idea how much they really like Cam Akers, and also how much they don't know what they have in their other 2 running backs.
Yep.
Like you said, they may have something where Cam Akers maybe isn't really. Cam Akers maybe is not getting the first little bit of it this season, and then he will towards the end. But I still take Mark Ingram in this situation.
All right. Okay, so guys, if you're getting good value here, hit that subscribe button, click that bell. We appreciate it every time that you do, and we'll give you a shout out if we can see it or get your name or anything like that. We'll talk to you. All right, next up for number 3, we have Ronald Jones versus Marlon Mack. 90 seconds on the clock, and go.
So for these 2, it's one of those ones where right now, like Fantasy Football Calculator has Ronald Jones as RB33 and Marlon Mack RB22. There's no way that's how it's really going to end up. I think they're going to kind of come back together, and they're all going to be right around that high 20s, low 30s when it comes to across the board Fantrax and my fantasy league. It's just another one of those ones where upside versus maybe limited upside. Ronald Jones, it's his job right now. Yes, they drafted Keyshawn Vaughn in the 3rd round this year. But here's the thing. Ronald Jones was a 2nd-round pick. And he greatly improved from his rookie season. And it's the whole Bruce Arians. Maybe I don't think he trusts rookie running backs. Back to his time in Arizona with David Johnson. He didn't perform until week 12 of his rookie year. And I just don't know if hashtag Tuami wants a rookie behind him, even though Ronald Jones is 3 months younger than the rookie Keyshawn Vaughn. And when it comes to Marlon Mack, hey, Colts went out and drafted Jonathan Taylor in the second round, traded up for him. Dude's beast mode. It's another one of those ones where behind that offensive line, a lot of people can perform. Marlon Mack has performed, but he hasn't really taken off the way that he should with that offensive line.
All right, so you got 20 seconds. Who are you going to take?
So with 20 seconds left, I'm going to take Ronald Jones just for the upside. And I think Marlon Mack might be a little bit more beneficial at the beginning of the season, but he's really going to lose those carries to Jonathan Taylor towards the end. So I would want Ronald Jones, especially towards the end and into your fantasy playoffs.
All right. So another 90 seconds on the clock, and I'll get going here on it.
And go.
All right. I'm right with you, actually. I'm taking – this is not a big question for me, actually. I like Ronald Jones over Marlon Mack in any format. And the real reason for that is that, look, the reason this is a question for a lot of people is that Ronald Jones has somebody who was drafted behind him to eventually take his job. That's what everybody believes. Same thing happened to Marlon Mack. They drafted Jonathan Taylor. So the question boils down to, in the end, who's going to lose their job the fastest? That's really what it boils down to. I think Marlon Mack loses his job by midseason, maybe a little bit earlier. Could be week 6, could be week 8, could be week 10. I don't know, but he's going to lose his job. He's going to lose it to Jonathan Taylor, and he's going to become the 20 to 25, 30% guy, and that's what he's going to have. He's not a pass-catching back, and so he might get early down and goal line work, but he's not going to get much more. Whereas I think that Ronald Jones is the more dynamic of these two guys left right now. Ronald Jones got less mileage on him. And you made the point, Arians doesn't trust rookie running backs. Ronald Jones has handled great pass protection for Jameis Winston before. So he can do his job. And Ronald Jones, I think, is not going to lose this job to Keyshawn Vaughn. He's just not going to. It's his for this year. Believe it. Just don't buy into the hype of Keyshawn Vaughn, guys. It's going to be a bad move if you look. Rojo and Keyshawn Vaughn are going like right back to back.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't draft that guy.
Don't be that guy.
All right. Yeah. Don't be that guy.
Hey, guys, speaking of being the guy, if you like this stuff, go ahead and smash that like button for us if you're getting some value out of this information. All right, Kyle. Up next, Zack.
Number four.
Number four. Zack Moss versus Damien Williams. We're going to let you lead off. 90 seconds. Go.
All right. So this is another question mark, right? You've got a guy in – what's that?
I said yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a question mark because you've got the rookie who's drafted to replace somebody, possibly, maybe not, out in Buffalo. And then you've got the guy who's potentially being replaced by Clyde Edwards-Helaire out in Kansas City. These guys are both going in the running back 38 to 49 range. Moss is getting hit up as running back 49 in a couple spots. They're both around 38 in a couple other spots. So they are being drafted in the same area. And so you have to question, well, what are you building if you're building a team with either of these guys? Are you building based on speculation that you're guessing that one guy's going to have carries and the other one's not? Look, right now it's Damien Williams' job out in Kansas City, but if you believe the chatter out of Buffalo, then you know that Zack Moss is getting first and second down and goal line carries. I think that Damien Williams is going to, at minimum, lose goal line carries to Helaire. I just don't see it happening where he maintains those. He could also lose third down. He could lose first and second. I don't know. I think where I'm going to go here, I believe in Buffalo's running ability a little bit more. And so I think that where I end up on this is Zack Moss. That's my choice.
Gotcha.
All right. So another 90 seconds on the clock, Justin. Full 90 seconds.
Full 90.
The whole thing. The whole thing. Yeah. And go.
So for this one, it's kind of tough for me because I had Damien Williams in a keeper league last year and I kept him. And boy, did he disappoint. It was one of those things. He got hurt and it was just one of those, like they were talking him up like he was going to be the bell cow. He was going to do this. He was going to do that. Yeah. If you kind of bring LaShawn McCoy in to do some running, you know what I mean? Like that's not a good thing.
I don't know that they had to bring LaShawn McCoy.
Well, they did. And
they did.
Here's the thing. That's what's crazy though is, and then all of a sudden, second half of the season towards fantasy playoffs, Damien Williams performs.
Yeah.
it's just another one of those things where I just don't know what you're going to get out of Damien Williams week in, week out, or season to season almost. But, man, that's a high-powered offense.
It is.
So with Zach Moss, he's going to fit right into that Frank Gore role. 12 and a half carries a game is what Frank Gore averaged. He had most of the goal line work, him and Josh Allen, I should say. It's just, once again, the consistency issue is going to be alarming for both of these guys. So it's, who do you take, based off of, Damien Williams' high-powered offense, Zach Moss, rookie goal line work? I'm actually going to go with Damien Williams just based off the offense. Week to week, you know how good the Kansas City offense is going to be. You don't know week to week how the Buffalo Bills offense is going to be. So I like the opportunities a little bit more with Damien Williams. So that's why I'm going to go with him. And, man, that really is sour going down when I say that.
Yeah. All right.
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Let me know.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Let us know of what you think about Zach Moss and Damien Williams. That is, both of those kind of come with some, warts, I guess you could say. You just don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of question marks there. You don't know what either one of them is going to be doing. So, throw your comment down in the comment section down there. Let us know. You got Moss or you got Williams? Who are you taking there, guys?
Yeah.
All right.
Those are definitely a bench stash.
I think at best. Well, you could end up with, I think, either one of them potentially in the flex spot. So.
Oh yeah, I mean the way it shakes out, you just never know, and they both have potential, and they both could be in your flex and do well for you.
Yeah, I would prefer them being my running back 4 or worse. Yep. Personally. All right. So the big question mark that we've got here, guys. Question number 5. All right. So we've got Ezekiel Elliott versus Saquon Barkley. All right. I'm throwing 90 seconds on the clock, Justin. Go.
And go.
Ooh.
So when it comes to Ezekiel Elliott, man, we get a lot of flack on the internet when it comes to what you said during our bust episode and kind of some other things that you've said on the internet, and I've come to back you because of what you said. I mean, it's one of those things where you broke it down when it comes to Mike McCarthy and running backs and how he doesn't like to have like a true cowbell, let me get you 20 plus touches. No, he barely gets you 15 plus touches.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Mike McCarthy, the last really good running back was Ahman Green. You mentioned that before. Ezekiel is better than Ahman Green, in my opinion. But does a zebra really change his stripes? Yes, Mike McCarthy went in the woods and changed the way he coached. I don't think he really did that.
No.
So, and when it comes to Saquon, we know,
shanty.
Saquon is RB1. The guy is a beast. That's all there is to it. He's going to get catches. He's going to, eat up rushing yards. You said before it's 80 plus yards is what he 80 plus touchdowns is what he's dependent on, and well, guess what? He gets them. He gets all of them.
Yeah.
And they've improved this offensive line for the New York Giants. The offense in general should be improved. So I'm definitely going Saquon Barkley, and I really don't think this should be a toss-up between the two. If you're sitting there with the second pick or the third pick and either one of those is available, Saquon is the choice.
Yeah. All right. So I've got 90 seconds on the clock, and I will tell you guys that I'm obviously going with Saquon Barkley, right?
The only thing I'm addicted to right now is winning.
I'm addicted to winning. That's right. Ezekiel Elliott is not a top 5 back this year, and he's going in the top 3. He's just not a top 5 back, and I think that history is going to be rewritten for him going forward. He has never had fewer than 18 carries a game on average for a season until this most recent season, and his numbers were down. His numbers have consistently gone down. This was also the first season that he was this last one was the first one that he was under like 90 yards per game on average. He was at 85. His numbers keep dropping. I've thrown out a ton of things about how, the most odd statistic that ever existed was that if a running back has over 300 carries in a season, like Ezekiel Elliott did, and his team doesn't make the playoffs, then the next year he has a 15% reduction in his total yardage, and that'll put him around 1,100 yards for the season. He's always performed very well as a goal line back, and he's gotten a lot of stuff out of that. But McCarthy doesn't run it in. He just doesn't call running plays. It's just not what's going to happen.
That skin, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's going to be tempted to some extent, but he's going to say, okay, if you didn't get on that first try, I'm going to go back to my
10
old
seconds.
ways, and I'm going to put the ball in Dak Prescott's hand, and he's going to throw it to Amari Cooper or Michael Gallup. So I'm going to Saquon Barkley here, guys. That's where I finish. All right.
Blow up that comment section. Blow it up.
Kill us on it, right?
Let us know
Barkley
about
over
Ezekiel
Elliott.
is Barkley. We're very adamant, and it is Barkley all day long for us.
Yeah.
We'll see that across our boards.
Yeah. I think that, personally, I'm pushing Elliott further and further down my board. I just don't like the scenario for him. There's plenty of guys who I love as players. I think they're phenomenal, great players. And I just got to push him further and further down my board. He's one of those guys now.
I am pushing him that much farther.
Oh, no. He's still going to be a top 10 back.
Well,
The problem is that you can't draft him as a top 3. That's a lot of capital. You have one of the first 3 picks and you're going to spend it on a guy who I think is going to finish around 6, 7, 8. That's great. That's wonderful, right? But when you have an opportunity to take somebody like Saquon Barkley and you pass him for Ezekiel Elliott, I think you're biting the bullet on that one there, guys.
Shoot yourself in the foot.
All right, so let's break it down here real quick. We both like Sanders over Ekeler.
Yep.
We both took Ingram over Akers, and we both took Ronald Jones over Marlon Mack. We split. The only one that we split on was I took Zack Moss and you took Damien Williams. I think that's just that's a really tough question because it's kind of what sort of roster building mantra do you have? What spot do you think you're drafting here?
Yep.
That kind of stuff. I think that's the complication there. And then we both like Barkley over over Zeke. So that's where we are, guys. We've finished up on that. That's a quick hit of an episode, I think. Once again, don't forget to subscribe. Click that bell so you get notified when we upload the best fantasy football podcast on the internet. Thanks again for being a fan of the Upside. And we will see you next time.
See you guys.
Bye.